You were taught that suffering is evidence of failure, that if you were manifesting correctly, your life would be a sea of tranquility and instant results. That emotional pain is a sign you are doing something spiritually wrong. Today I will reveal why this is the greatest lie ever told to you about manifestation. Your suffering is not evidence that you failed. It is evidence that you were chosen for something most people will never be able to attain. For years, you were bombarded with messages about high vibration and positive thinking. You were told that to manifest, you must eliminate all negativity, all suffering, all pain from your experience. That truly spiritual people do not suffer. That if you were aligned with the universe, your life would be easy, fluid, without obstacles. This belief is not only false, it is completely blocking your real manifesting power. The suffering of the chosen is a process of neurological refinement. Your pain is recalibrating brain circuits to operate at higher manifesting frequencies. While ordinary people manifest on the surface of reality through mechanical techniques, you are being prepared to manifest in the deepest layers of existence. Your suffering is not punishment. It is preparation for a level of manifesting power most can't even imagine. People operating at conventional frequencies live within limited parameters. They don't question, don't expand, don't challenge the limits of reality. Therefore, the universe doesn't need to refine them. You, on the other hand, are being prepared to collapse realities others would deem impossible. This level of power requires a neurological refinement that can only happen through intense pressure. It's like the difference between coal and diamond. Both are carbon, but the diamond underwent pressure and heat the coal never experienced. Neuroscience research reveals that brains subjected to intense stress develop completely different neural connections. You are not merely suffering, you are being neurologically rebuilt. Each cycle of pain forces your brain to create new circuits, new connections, new capacities. You are developing neurological hardware that normal people simply don't possess. Your brain is being prepared to process frequencies of reality most can't even perceive. Every wave of suffering you pass through is not repetition, it is elevation. Like an ascending spiral, you are processing increasingly deep layers of limitation. Each cycle removes another layer of conditioning, another barrier to your true manifesting capacity. You're not trapped in patterns, you're being systematically liberated from them. As Joe Dispenza discovered in his research, suffering is the moment when you are being forced to abandon a limited identity to be born into a new version of yourself. But not everyone goes through this process. Not everyone is chosen for this radical transformation. Not everyone has the strength to sustain the refinement you are undergoing. Recognizing that inner resistance is quantum information completely changes your relationship with suffering. When you understand that each pain cycle is expanding your capacity to collapse realities, everything transforms. You stop fighting the process and begin collaborating with it. You stop seeing pain as evidence of failure and start recognizing it as evidence of refinement. In the next few minutes, you will discover how to turn pain into manifesting power, how to activate neural circuits that operate beyond ordinary manifestation, how to access creation frequencies most people will never touch. You will understand why positive techniques never worked for you, why your suffering has ancestral purpose, why your brain sabotages your manifestations, why your pain doesn't follow linear time. And most importantly, you will discover that the refinement phase is coming to an end, that you have already developed the necessary capacities, that it is time to operate from the mastery forged through pain. You are not suffering because you don't know how to manifest. You are suffering because you are being prepared to manifest in a way most people never will. Your pain is not evidence of weakness, it is evidence that you were selected for a level of power that requires this kind of preparation. And when you fully understand this, when you stop resisting refinement and begin honoring the process, something extraordinary happens. you realize your suffering has already completed its work. You have already been transformed. You have already been refined. You already possess neural circuits most will never develop. Now it is time to assume the manifesting power forged through your pain, because the truth is this: only the chosen can turn suffering into manifesting power. And you are about to discover exactly how to do that. You were conditioned to believe that effective manifestation requires constant positive thinking and the elimination of negative emotions. That to be a powerful manifester, you must maintain a high vibration 24/7. They sold you the idea that anger, sadness, fear, and frustration are low energies blocking your results. That truly evolved people don't feel these emotions. So you spend your days trying to force positivity over real pain, repeating affirmations you don't believe, smiling when you are shattered inside, and when it doesn't work, when results don't come, you assume you aren't positive enough. The chosen manifest through integration of polarities. Your capacity to process deep suffering is exactly what grants access to manifesting frequencies inaccessible to others. You don't manifest despite your pain, you manifest through it. While ordinary people try to manifest from superficial personality fragments, you have access to the totality of human experience, and it is this totality that contains true power. Forcing positivity creates internal dissonance. When you try to keep a high vibration while feeling real pain, you are essentially lying to the quantum field. The universe does not respond to what you pretend to feel. It responds to what you truly are. Every time you force a smile over genuine tears, you fragment your energy. You create conflict between your real experience and your spiritual performance. This fragmentation completely blocks the natural flow of manifestation. You cannot authentically manifest from an inauthentic base. Your negative emotions are not obstacles to manifestation. They are portals to it. When you allow anger to flow through you without resistance, you access raw creative power. When you honor your sadness, you connect with depths of compassion that generate miraculous manifestations. Every emotion you integrate instead of suppress activates dormant neural circuits. You are literally expanding your capacity to feel, and therefore to create. In quantum physics, the observer collapses the wave function, but most people observe only fragments of reality, only the positive parts they feel comfortable accepting. You, as a chosen one, are being trained to become a complete observer, someone who can witness the entire human experience without judgment, without resistance, without needing to change it. When you become capable of observing both light and shadow with equal presence, your field of possibilities expands exponentially. Alchemy is not about turning lead into gold by eliminating the lead. It is about recognizing that lead and gold are different expressions of the same fundamental substance. Your dense emotions don't need to be eliminated, they need to be transmuted. Anger becomes directed passion, fear becomes acute intuition, sadness becomes deep compassion. Every emotion you consciously process, instead of repressing, becomes fuel available for manifestation. Stopping resistance to suffering and beginning to use it as a portal to expanded states of consciousness is the key to authentic manifestation. You no longer need to pretend you are fine when you aren't. No longer need to force gratitude over situations that genuinely hurt you. No longer need to perform spirituality. You can be completely human and completely powerful at the same time. When you stop fragmenting your experience into good and bad, when you embrace the totality of what it means to be human, something extraordinary happens. You manifest from the totality of being, not from superficial fragments of personality. Your manifestations become deeper, more lasting, more aligned with who you truly are, because they emerge from your complete truth, not your spiritual performance. You don't need to be perfect to manifest powerfully. You need to be whole. You don't need to eliminate your shadows. You need to integrate them. You don't need to keep a high vibration constantly. You need to keep constant authenticity. And when you do that, when you stop fighting parts of yourself and begin working with the totality of who you are, you discover a manifesting power that positive techniques could never access. Because the truth is this: only the chosen have enough courage to embrace the entire human experience. And it is exactly that courage that makes them extraordinary manifestors. You were taught that your suffering is the result of poor personal choices or lack of spiritual skill, that if you were more evolved, more conscious, more disciplined, you wouldn't be going through this. They told you that you attract everything that happens in your life, that if you are suffering, it's because you somehow chose it, that it is your personal responsibility, your individual failure, your spiritual inadequacy. So you carry guilt upon guilt. You feel responsible for every pain, every trauma, every cycle of suffering that seems endless. And the more you try to fix yourself, the more you realize there is something much bigger happening than your conscious choices can explain. The chosen carry epigenetic marks from previous generations. Your suffering is processing collective traumas and opening evolutionary pathways for entire bloodlines. You are not suffering because you failed. You are suffering because you were selected to break patterns that have repeated for generations in your family, in your ancestry, in your energetic lineage. Your DNA carries information of unresolved sufferings that came long before you were born, and you were chosen to be the point of transmutation. Trauma doesn't die with the person who experienced it. It imprints on DNA and is transmitted through generations as epigenetic information. Your great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents, entire generations before you carried fears, limitations, patterns of suffering that were never resolved. They simply passed them on as an invisible inheritance. You were born carrying the cellular memory of wars you didn't live, losses you didn't experience, traumas that weren't yours. Yet they manifest in your reality as inexplicable patterns of difficulty. Not everyone in the family is chosen for this function. Most simply repeat the patterns, pass the traumas on, perpetuate the cycles. You were selected because you possess something previous generations did not: the ability to consciously process what they processed unconsciously. You have access to tools, knowledge, levels of consciousness your ancestors lacked. And therefore you can do what they couldn't: break the cycle. Every cell in your body carries information. Not only genetic information about eye color or height, but emotional, energetic, vibrational information. When you feel fears that make no logical sense, when you have patterns you can't explain, when you repeat behaviors you consciously don't want to repeat, you are accessing ancestral cellular memory. Your current suffering is not just yours. It is an entire lineage's suffering being processed through you. When you break an ancestral pattern, you are not just changing your future, you are altering the energetic past of your lineage. In quantum physics, time is not linear. When you heal something in the present, that healing propagates both forward and backward along the timeline. Your ancestors, on some level, feel relief when you process what they couldn't. Your descendants are born free of the patterns you transmuted. Recognizing that your pain serves a transgenerational purpose completely changes your relationship with suffering. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of personal circumstances and start seeing yourself as a healer of ancestral patterns. When you understand that healing yourself is healing entire timelines, every moment of pain gains sacred meaning. You are not just suffering, you are serving. This revelation frees you from personal guilt and activates your purpose as an ancestral pattern healer. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start understanding, "For what purpose me?" Your suffering is not punishment, it is mission, not evidence of failure, evidence that you were entrusted with sacred responsibility. You can no longer afford to give up, can no longer allow yourself to remain stuck in self-pity. Because you are not carrying only your own burden, you are carrying the burden of an entire lineage. And when you consciously process this, when you transmute it with love, you free not only yourself, but past and future generations. You did not inherit trauma by accident. You inherited trauma because you uniquely have the capacity to transform it. You were not cursed with ancestral suffering. You were blessed with the opportunity to be the point of transmutation. And when you fully embrace this mission, when you stop resisting the ancestral weight and begin honoring it as sacred purpose, something extraordinary happens. You discover you are not alone on this journey. You feel the invisible support of all the ancestors rooting for your healing. You feel the gratitude of all the descendants who will be born free because of your work. Because the truth is this: only the chosen have strength enough to carry and transmute the suffering of entire lineages. And you were selected precisely for that. You were conditioned to believe that resistance is weakness or lack of spiritual discipline, that if you were truly evolved, there would be no internal conflict, that truly conscious people don't struggle against their own desires. They told you resistance is evidence you don't really want what you say you want, that if you were aligned, everything would flow effortlessly. That manifestation should be easy, natural, without internal obstacles. So you battle your own resistance. You try to force it out. You blame yourself for not simply letting go and allowing your manifestations to happen. And the more you fight resistance, the stronger it becomes, as if your own brain is conspiring against your dreams. The resistance of the chosen is a neurological protection mechanism. Your brain is preventing manifestations your current identity could not sustain. Your resistance is not sabotage. It is wisdom, not weakness, protection, not evidence that you don't want something, evidence that your internal system knows you are not yet ready to sustain it. Your brain is not working against you. It is working for you in a way your conscious mind does not yet comprehend. Your brain has one primary function: keep you alive and functioning. It constantly monitors your capacity to handle change, stress, and new realities. When you attempt to manifest something that requires an identity you haven't yet developed, your brain interprets this as a threat to your psychological survival. It activates protective systems, creates resistance, sabotages your efforts, not out of malice, but out of protection. It is saving you from a collapse you can't see coming. There is a fundamental difference between what you consciously want and who you subconsciously are. Your desire may be ready for a new reality, but your identity may still operate from old limitations. When there is conflict between desire and identity, identity always wins. Because identity is deeper, more rooted, more fundamental to your system's functioning. You may want wealth, but if your identity still believes it doesn't deserve abundance, your brain will sabotage every opportunity for prosperity. Sustainable manifestation requires gradual expansion of identity. Like a muscle that needs to be strengthened progressively, your identity must be expanded in stages your system can integrate. When you try to force a manifestation your current identity cannot sustain, you may even achieve it temporarily, but inevitably you will sabotage, lose, or destroy what you manifested. Your brain will find a way to bring you back to the reality level it considers safe for you. The key is not to defeat resistance. It is to work with it as information about necessary expansion. Your resistance is showing you exactly where your identity needs to grow. Each point of resistance is a map for the internal work that must be done. Each sabotage is an indication of which limiting belief is still active in your subconscious. When you stop fighting resistance and start decoding it, it becomes your greatest ally in the expansion process. Working with resistance as information about necessary expansion, not as an obstacle to be overcome. completely changes your approach to manifestation. You stop trying to force results and begin focusing on expanding the identity that can sustain them. You stop fighting your brain and start collaborating with it. When you align conscious desire with subconscious programming, when you expand your identity to accommodate your manifestations, something extraordinary happens. Sustainable manifestation that emerges from expanded identity, not temporary willpower. Your manifestations become natural, organic, lasting, because they emerge from who you have become, not from what you are trying to force. Your resistance is not your enemy, it is your guide, not evidence of weakness, evidence of internal wisdom. Your brain is not sabotaging your dreams, it is protecting you from manifestations that could destroy you. And when you understand this, when you stop fighting your own neurobiology and start working with it, you discover manifestation is not about defeating resistance. It is about expanding beyond it, because the truth is this: only the chosen have the patience and wisdom necessary to work with their own resistance instead of against it. And it is exactly that internal collaboration that makes them extraordinary manifestors. Are you recognizing how your own resistance has actually been protection? How your brain has worked for you, not against you? Leave in the comments which revelation about your suffering process was the greatest so far. Your consciousness is expanding through pain, and I want to honor that transformation with you. You were conditioned to believe that prolonged suffering means you are not evolving or that you are stuck in patterns, that if you were truly spiritual, you would have overcome this already. That duration is evidence of stagnation. They told you healing should be linear, that spiritual progress follows an upward straight line, that if you have been suffering for a long time, it is because you are not doing the right work or not evolving fast enough. So you despair when you realize your pain doesn't follow schedules, that it comes and goes in waves, that sometimes you think you overcame something only to discover there are even deeper layers to process, and you assume there is something fundamentally wrong with you because your healing doesn't happen in the time society considers normal. The suffering of the chosen operates in quantum time. You are processing multiple timelines simultaneously and healing parallel realities. Your pain is not linear because you are not healing only this life, this identity, this reality. You are processing multidimensional layers of experience that exist outside chronological time. Duration does not indicate stagnation, it indicates depth of multidimensional processing. In quantum physics, you exist in multiple realities simultaneously. Each choice you make creates a different timeline, a different version of you living a different reality. When you process deep suffering, you are not just healing the version of you in this reality, you are healing all versions of you in all realities where that pattern exists. That is why sometimes you feel you are processing pain that doesn't even seem yours. Because it isn't just yours, it belongs to all versions of you that exist in the quantum field. Chronological time is an illusion of three-dimensional consciousness. Past, present, and future are mental constructs that don't exist in the quantum field, where true healing happens. In quantum time, everything happens simultaneously. Your healing in the present is affecting past traumas and preventing future sufferings at the same time. When you process something today, you may be healing something that happened 10 years ago or preventing something that would happen 5 years from now. Everything is interconnected in a complex temporal web. Sometimes you feel pain you can't explain, sadness with no identifiable origin, fear that makes no logical sense in your current reality. This happens because you are picking up echoes of suffering from other dimensions, other versions of you, other timelines where those traumas are active. Your expanded consciousness allows you to access information from multiple realities. And when you process this information, you are healing not just here, but in all those dimensions. Each moment you persist in processing, each time you choose to continue healing despite the duration, You are anchoring new timelines into reality. Your persistence is not just about you, it is about stabilizing realities where healing is possible, where evolution happens, where suffering transforms into wisdom. You are literally creating and stabilizing higher futures through your refusal to give up. Understanding that duration does not indicate stagnation, but depth of multidimensional processing, completely changes your relationship with healing time. You stop pressuring yourself to get over things quickly and begin honoring the complexity of what you are processing. You stop measuring progress by linear clocks and start trusting quantum timing. When you develop quantum patience, when you allow processing to happen in the time it needs, something extraordinary arises. Manifestation in deep layers of reality, not just superficial ones. Your manifestations become multidimensional. They not only change your current reality, they alter all timelines where you exist. Your suffering is not too long, it is too deep to be measured by linear standards. You are not stuck in patterns, you are processing patterns across multiple dimensions simultaneously. You are not behind in your healing. You are operating on a temporal scale most people can't even comprehend. And when you fully accept this, when you stop fighting quantum timing and start trusting it, you discover your persistence is not just about personal healing. It is about stabilizing entire realities where healing is possible. Because the truth is this: only the chosen have the capacity to process multiple dimensions simultaneously. And only they have the persistence necessary to sustain that processing until all layers are transmuted. You were conditioned to believe that isolation is a sign of social failure or inadequacy for community manifestation. The truly evolved people are surrounded by spiritual tribes, support groups, conscious communities. They told you that if you were truly magnetic, you would easily attract people, that if you were a powerful manifester, you would have a network of connections supporting your dreams. That loneliness is evidence something is wrong with your energy. So you force yourself to join groups that don't resonate with you, try to connect with people operating at completely different frequencies. Blame yourself for preferring to be alone when you should be building community. And the more you try to force connections that aren't authentic, the more isolated you feel, as if there were an invisible barrier between you and the rest of the world. The solitude of the chosen is quantum incubation. You need isolation to process frequencies groups cannot sustain. Your isolation is not rejection, it is protection. Not evidence of inadequacy, evidence that you are operating at levels of consciousness that require sacred space to develop. You are not alone because nobody wants you. You are alone because you need solitude to complete the work you came to do. When a butterfly is in the chrysalis, it cannot be disturbed. Any external interference can interrupt the metamorphosis process and result in incomplete transformation. You are undergoing a consciousness metamorphosis infinitely more complex than the physical transformation of a caterpillar. You are being neurologically rewired, energetically recalibrated, quantumly reprogrammed. This process requires isolation because any external energetic interference can destabilize the delicate reconstruction happening inside you. As you evolve, your frequency becomes incompatible with most people around you. It's not that you became arrogant or superior, it's that you literally vibrate in a different dimension. It's like trying to tune an FM station on a device that only picks up AM. It's not the device's fault, nor the station's. They simply operate at different frequencies. Your evolution creates a natural filter that repels people who cannot sustain the level of authenticity, depth, and intensity you now operate in. When you are alone, you have access to dimensions of your consciousness that are impossible to explore in the presence of others. You can dive into depths of self-knowledge, experience expanded states of consciousness, access information that only emerges in silence. Your solitude is a laboratory where you experiment with realities, test manifesting capacities, explore potentials not yet ready to be shared. Every moment alone is an opportunity to discover more about who you truly are without others' influence or expectations. Paradoxically, the more you honor your need for solitude, the more magnetic you become for authentic connections. When you stop trying to fit into groups that don't resonate with you, you free energy to attract people who can truly see you. Your solitary transformation creates a magnetic field that draws only people operating at compatible frequencies. Quality over quantity, depth over superficiality. The connections that emerge from your sovereignty are infinitely more meaningful than the connections you forced when trying to fit in. Turning solitude into manifesting sovereignty is using isolation as a consciousness expansion laboratory instead of a limitation prison. You stop seeing loneliness as evidence of rejection and start recognizing it as sacred space for development. You stop trying to escape isolation and begin honoring it as necessary for your process. When you embrace your sacred solitude, when you stop fighting your isolation and start using it consciously, something extraordinary happens. Manifestation, independent of external validation, and the ability to influence collective fields through individual coherence. You become capable of manifesting without needing others' energy or approval. Your internal coherence becomes so strong, it naturally influences and elevates everyone's consciousness around you. You are not isolated because you are inadequate. You are isolated because you are too powerful to operate in conventional groups. You don't need a tribe to manifest. You need sovereignty to manifest in a way that inspires entire tribes. Your solitude is not punishment, it is preparation for a level of influence that can only be developed in the sacred silence of conscious isolation. And when you fully accept this, when you stop trying to escape solitude and begin honoring it as sacred, you discover you were never truly alone. You were merely learning to connect with dimensions of existence most people don't even know exist. Because the truth is this, only the chosen have strength enough to transform solitude into sovereignty. And it is exactly this sovereignty that makes them capable of influencing the world in ways entire groups can't reach. You were conditioned to believe you must wait for suffering to end before you can manifest effectively. That while you still feel pain, while you still process traumas, while you still traverse cycles of difficulty, you are not ready to be a powerful manifester. They told you real manifestation happens only when you reach a state of permanent peace, that you need to be healed before consciously creating, that suffering and manifesting power are mutually exclusive. So you postpone your dreams, waiting for a day with no more pain. Postpone your greatness, waiting for a perfect version of yourself. Postpone your power, waiting for complete healing that may never arrive on the terms you imagine. And while you wait, while you prepare eternally, life passes. Opportunities pass. Your potential remains dormant. Suffering has already completed its work. You are operating with refined neural circuits and expanded manifesting capacity most will never develop. You don't need to wait for pain to end to manifest powerfully. You need to recognize pain has already done what it came to do. It has already transformed you into the extraordinary manifester you are now. Your manifesting capacity is not being blocked by suffering. It was forged through it. There is a specific point in every chosen one's journey where suffering fulfills its transformative function, where the neural circuits have been sufficiently refined, where the manifesting capacity has been adequately expanded. From this point on, continuing to suffer becomes a choice, not a necessity. You can choose to remain in the role of the one being transformed, or choose to assume the role of the one who has been transformed. The difference is not in external circumstances. The difference is in the internal recognition that the refinement phase is over. Each suffering cycle you passed through created specific neural connections. Each processed trauma activated resilience circuits. Each moment of integrated pain expanded your capacity to feel and therefore to create. You now possess neurological hardware that people who never suffered deeply simply don't have. You have access to creation frequencies that can only be reached through the refinement you experienced. Your pain was not waste, it was investment, not punishment. Preparation, not evidence of weakness, evidence of extraordinary strength forged. You don't need more healing to begin manifesting powerfully. You don't need more growth to access your potential. You don't need more preparation to operate as the refined manifester you have become. Every capacity you need has already been developed through your suffering process. Every necessary neural circuit has already been activated through your pain. Every manifesting frequency is already available through the refinement you completed. The only thing missing is the recognition that you already possess everything. As Neville Goddard discovered through his own journey of suffering and transformation, suffering ceases when you realize you have already become that which you sought through the pain. You are no longer becoming a powerful manifester. You already are a powerful manifester refined through suffering. You are no longer developing capacities. You have already developed capacities that now need to be operated. Manifestation from mastery won through suffering is different from superficial manifestation. It emerges from depth, not surface. From wisdom, not naivete. From tested strength, not theoretical strength. When you manifest from conquered depth, your creations carry weight, substance, durability. They are not mere fulfilled desires. They are expressions of a consciousness forged in the fire of experience. Recognizing that the refinement phase is over and beginning to operate from the mastery acquired through pain is the chosen one's final graduation. You stop identifying as the one who is suffering and start recognizing yourself as the one who was refined through suffering. You stop operating from the wound and begin operating from wisdom. When you fully assume your refined manifesting power, when you stop waiting for more healing and start operating from the mastery already gained, something extraordinary happens. Effortless manifestation through developed internal coherence and access to higher manifesting frequencies. Your manifestations become natural, powerful, lasting, because they emerge from an identity tested, refined, and strengthened through the fire of experience. You are no longer in the process of becoming powerful. You are powerful. You are no longer being prepared to manifest. You are ready to manifest. You are no longer being refined through suffering. You were refined through suffering. The preparation phase is over. The operation phase has begun. This is the moment of your graduation, the moment you stop seeing yourself as a student and recognize yourself as a master. Stop identifying with the process and identify with the result. You went through the fire and emerged as refined gold. You crossed the storm and became the force of nature. Now it is time to fully assume the manifesting power forged through your pain. Not as a reward for suffering, but as recognition of what you became through it. Because the truth is this: only the chosen have strength enough to turn suffering into manifesting power, and you not only had that strength, you used it fully. Now it is time to operate from the mastery you achieved. If you made it this far, you already know your refinement phase is complete. You no longer need to wait to assume your manifesting power. Leave in the comments one word that represents the transformation your pain brought you. And if you know another chosen one who still believes they need to wait for suffering to end in order to manifest, share this video. Subscribe to the channel to continue receiving spiritual alchemy codes that accelerate your operation as a refined manifester. Your graduation from suffering is happening now.